Okay, so we're doing the fourth floor.
So manufacturers help out the retailer.
Do that?
Okay.
Yeah, but you used to be able to get like,
I got there, they got food.
have like show specials.
No, I won't pay it.
So the problem is I want fries, but I need fruit.
Now let's see what using the D1.5 as a transport.
Excuse me.
Hush now, my sweet little noisy boy. There's trouble enough in the world. Pick up your feet, little lazy boy. Come dance with your little girl. Spin me around this kitchen floor like a carnival through a door. I know we're only two big clowns in a one-ring circus.
So it's only a lot more there. If I were to add the clock, I'll just describe it to you because I've done this so many times. That waltz comes forward and you can almost feel the piano player dancing. This, the timing, what it does to flow. Adding an external power supply adds a little more weight. As you heard at the beginning of this with that extra weight in the left hand of the keyboardist, it's even, the piano is even that much bigger. So each one of these increments can be added at any time, and it allows for a living system.
So the first one you played, the DAC, was in the CD player?
It's built into the CD player.
The second one was the external?
Correct. Now, our first product was the D1. This just replaced it. So it was a 12-year-old player transport. We're incredibly proud of this. One of the big evolutions of this one, beyond the fact that we're building our transport, which in and of itself is, if you're into mechanical stuff, is unbelievable. But the digital section of this is derived from this unit. And so if I were to have a D1 and did a shootout, it's shocking how far it's come. Now, of course, this is on borrowed time. This, in Munich, just a couple of weeks ago, I introduced the new C1.2. I actually killed a bunch of C1s by doing demos of the C1.2. So if you think this is good. Now, I'm only bringing that up for you now. If somebody were to purchase this unit today, the price differential with the new unit is $4,000 more. That's also the upgrade cost for anybody that owns a C1. It's a philosophical approach. We want to make these systems living systems. So if you had a D1, because the transport's entirely different, we actually can't upgrade a D1, so we're offering a trade-in program.
What's the price for the clock and the...
Clock, and don't quote me on prices because I try to keep track of all prices in different zones of the world. I do international. We're right around $32,000 for the DAC in its most basic configuration.
Okay.
This transport's $41,000 in its most basic configuration. If you want to add the analog outs, it's $5,000 for the pair of mono outputs.
Okay.
The clock is $24,000, although it does require a clock card.
Okay.
Which doesn't come in here, and again, that's whether you bought it new or you put it in later. Your dealer needs to be able to use a number 10 Torx wrench. It's a very small screw, and there's only 2. So we do have a card system that allows us to do these updates and upgrades. The upgrade for a C1, by the way, actually, this is a C1, sorry. They all look the same when they have knobs on. The C1 has to be a current C1. So we have had in the 10 years that the C1's been out some upgrades. So you have to have the latest digital board, the latest display, etc. for that 4,000. Of course, we can upgrade anything. You know, somebody could have upgraded a 10-year-old piece and had it be an absolute 100% new unit, which I think is pretty darn cool.
And what about the amps? How much is it?
60-ish each. And then we have an A1.5, which is just below 40 each.
Okay.
And that's in a stereo configuration. It's not quite double when you do monos, just because the single inputs, unless you do active, then you need dual inputs. And then we have the M10s that you may have seen on the cover of the Absolute Sound in January, February. Those are roughly 105 each.
Okay.
So everything's hand built in Switzerland, down to the machining and the chassis work is done just about an hour and a half from our offices. Even the coil formers and the output of the amplifiers we do in Switzerland. We only have to do 60% to say made in Switzerland. We don't believe that's fair. We actually do 100% build in Switzerland. We think that's the correct thing. In addition to the C1 being a great digital controller, it does have, although we're not using it in this configuration, I can have a variable out, so I could use it as a control system. I can also purchase an analog input if I wanted to use a phono stage or something and have that be the heart of the system. I still believe in line stages, so I'm using one. The other configurability aspect of this piece is if you're interested in streaming, we do have an Ethernet streaming card. It's $6,000, you install it, it's room ready or UPnP. And so I'll try to pull something off, maybe get rid of some remote controls before I drop stuff. So I'll use the C1 now as a streaming device. They don't give us internet in these rooms. We can't get access out of the building, so I am running a room core, but I'm limited to files I have on my laptop buried in front of the refrigerator.